के अंधेरे में एक नूर हो।
आप अली खान को जानती हैं?
हाँ।
मैं अली खान हूँ, खान ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनीज का मालिक। चांद सबको भाता है, जब इस भरी दुनिया में कोई तन्हा रह जाए तो रातें खौफनाक अजाब से कम नहीं होती।
जिंदगी की डोर बड़ी कच्ची है, इंसान समझता है कि ये एक मजबूत रस्सी है।
वो लड़की जो अली के साथ है, मिराल, उसके बाप का नाम अहमद अली है, तुम जानते थे?
लेकिन ये कच्चे धागे की तरह किसी भी वक्त टूट जाता है।
मैं भी चांद की तरह हूँ। मैं झूठा हो सकता हूँ, लेकिन मेरी नीयत पे कभी शक नहीं कीजिए।
बेगम साहबा, मैं तो आईडी कार्ड देखते ही पहचान गया था, लेकिन फिर भी अपना शक दूर करने के लिए मैंने तमाम डेटा फिर से निकलवाए।
ये कौन लाया है? ये किसकी है?
क्या मतलब कौन लाया किसकी है? आपकी है और मैं लाई हूँ आप दोनों के लिए। So happy। चलो 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 चलो, आजा 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 आजा। Thank you।
बहुत मुबारक हुआ।
शुक्रिया,
बहुत शुक्रिया।
इस मोमेंट का इंतजार था मुझे इतने टाइम से। इट्स फाइनली हैपनिंग। थैंक यू। तुम्हें कोई जरूरी बात भी करनी थी मुझसे?
हाँ, वो फिर कभी सही।
फिर कभी नहीं, कॉफी ऑर्डर करती हूँ। अभी मेरा मूड अच्छा है।
मूड अच्छा ऐसी का तो डर है।
Millions of viewers hit play, and just like that, Pakistan's most talked about drama is suddenly on everyone's lips.
Oh, absolutely. Episode 11 of Shaidai dropped on May 22, 2026, and honestly, nothing was the same after that.
Welcome to our deep dive. I'm your host, and today we have to talk about a television show featuring, well, suddenly disappearing motorcycles, scientifically impossible business decisions, and a lead character wearing silk, three-piece tuxedos to street fights.
Right. But who somehow still manages to unite 10 million viewers across pretty hostile international borders. It's wild.
It is a massive cultural paradox. And if you are listening to this right now, you are stepping right into the middle of it.
Yeah, we have an incredible stack of sources to go through today. We are talking television rating reports, highly detailed plot summaries, and those razor-sharp critical reviews from the Kaya Drama High team.
Plus the global syndication data, and my personal favorite, the actual real-world specs of the show's commercial sponsors.
Oh, the sponsor data is fascinating, because our mission today is to figure out exactly how this specific drama balances visceral, raw emotion with some, frankly, laughable plot logic.
Right, and why the explosive cliffhanger of episode 11 has a complete chokehold on the digital generation.
To do that, you really have to look far beyond the script. You know, you cannot truly understand a piece of pop culture this massive without understanding the economic engine funding it.
Yeah, and the grueling production pipeline that creates all those flaws we mentioned.
Exactly. Plus the underlying sociological friction between the aspirational fantasy on the screen and the reality of the audience watching it.
So we're deconstructing this entirely, from the broadcast data all the way down to the chemical ingredients of the beauty creams sponsoring the commercial breaks.
It is a masterclass in modern storytelling, audience psychology, and just the sheer power of internet virality.
So settle in, you guys.
Yeah.
But just a quick note before we plunge into the May 2026 television landscape. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow wherever you are listening.
Yeah, you definitely want to do that.
Because once we decode the madness of episode 11, you are absolutely not going to want to miss our follow-up when episode 12 finally drops. You need the context we are about to build.
Right, so let's start with the arena itself. The Pakistani drama industry in May 2026 is, it's operating at this relentless blockbuster scale.
It really is.
And to understand where Shaidai fits into that, we have to look at the television rating point data, the TRP reports. But we need to be very precise about what a TRP actually measures in the specific market.
Right, because for listeners who might not track broadcast analytics closely, a TRP isn't just a raw count of total views, is it? It's a highly specific legacy metric.
Precisely. A TRP is traditionally measured using people meters.
Okay, people meters.
Yeah, these are installed in a representative sample of households. It basically measures who is sitting in their living room watching a linear broadcast on a specific channel at a specific time.
So it's very localized to the physical TV set.
Exactly. And in the South Asian context, this metric heavily skews toward multi-generational communal family viewing.
Ah, so it captures the grandparents, the parents, and the kids all watching the main television set together.
Right. When you look at the top 5 dramas dominating this month, that context is everything.
Well, I have the top 5 right here in my notes, and the numbers are just staggering. At number 5, we have Ekau Aur Pakisa, pulling an 8.5 TRP.
Which our sources note is highly praised for tackling serious social issues with really realistic storytelling.
Right, very grounded. Then number 3 is Zanji Rain, with a 10.8 TRP, which is heavily praised for bringing Hum TV back to the top slot through this unique, high-end cinematography.
It looks beautiful, yeah.
And number 2 is Humarahi, starring Danish Tamor, pulling a massive 12.5 TRP.
Huge numbers.
But the undisputed titan of traditional television, at number 1, is Gulam Badshah Sundari, bringing in a record-breaking 14.1 TRP.
I mean, a 14.1 TRP is astronomical in the modern fragmented media era. It indicates complete market saturation among those traditional, multi-generational viewing households.
But here is where I really have to push back. Because I am looking at the data, and you completely skipped number 4.
I did, yeah.
Sitting at number 4 is Shaidai, with the 9.2 TRP. Now, you might be looking at that 9.2 and thinking, well, that's almost 5 points behind the number 1 show, so who really cares?
Right, it seems like a big gap.
And honestly, that was my first thought, too. If it is trailing behind a juggernaut like Gulam Badshah Sundari by that much, why does it feel like Shaidai is dominating my entire digital existence?
It really is everywhere.
Everywhere I look, on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, it is wall-to-wall Shaidai. Why does the legacy data lie to us?
Well, the thing is, the data doesn't lie, but it only tells half the story. This is the exact friction point between the legacy broadcast audience and the digital native generation.
You have to break that down for me.
Shows like Humrahi and Gulam Badshah Sundari have the living room lockdown, but Shaidai has the smartphone.
Ah, I see.
Its broadcast numbers are a respectable 9.2, meaning it performs well on linear TV, but its digital footprint is an absolute anomaly. We are seeing episodes rack up 10 million views in mere days on YouTube alone.
Which indicates an entirely different mode of consumption, right? These aren't passive viewers letting the TV run in the background while they eat dinner.
Oh, it goes much deeper than passive viewing. It's a highly participatory fandom. The YouTube algorithm and the TikTok ecosystem, they actively reward engagement.
Right, all the likes, comments, and shares.
Exactly. These younger digital native viewers are ripping the episodes, clipping specific scenes, overlaying their own melancholic music.
Of the sad lo-fi beats.
Yes. Color grading the footage, and aggressively eliciting character motivations in the comments. The audience isn't just consuming the show, they're actively remixing it to amplify their own emotional reactions.
Okay, so what is the alchemy here? What are the specific ingredients that Seventh Sky Entertainment, the powerhouse producers Abdullah Kadwani and Asad Qureshi, what are they putting into this digital cocktail to make it so potent?
So, Seventh Sky Entertainment functions with incredible precision. They paired director Ali Faizan with writer Saqlain Abbas to engineer a very specific aesthetic. High-gloss, aggressive pacing, and hypercharged emotion. But the real catalyst, honestly, is the casting.
Feroze Khan.
Yes, you have Feroze Khan playing the male lead, Ali Khan. He has cultivated a massive, intensely dedicated digital fan base by practically cornering the market on the dangerous but devoted male archetype.
He definitely had the type.
He plays men who operate on the edge of volatility, you know.
Yeah.
But they are anchored by a singular, obsessive love.
And you pair that volatility with Sahar Hashmi, who plays Miral. She brings this very grounded, contemporary energy to the screen.
Exactly. It balances him out perfectly.
And then, crucially, they cast industry legends like Bushra Ansari as Daddy John and Mahmoud Athlam. It's a deliberate strategy, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It's demographic hedging. The veterans legitimize the show for the older audience watching on linear TV, while the young leads drive the viral digital clips.
That is so smart. And the show broadcasts its intentions right in the title. Shaidai translates to someone who is madly, obsessively in love.
The word carries a really heavy cultural weight. It implies a passion that borders on madness, a love that inherently defies logic and reason.
So before the first frame even airs, the creators are establishing a psychological contract with the audience.
Right. They are saying, do not expect subtle, quiet romance, expect obsession, expect collateral damage.
Which brings us to the night of May 21st, heading into the 22nd. The tension has been simmering for 10 episodes.
The audience is practically vibrating at this point.
And episode 11 delivers a narrative pivot that just shatters the internet. And I was really struck by the core confession scene. I want your analytical take on this because it was driven entirely by panic rather than romance.
It really was.
How does subverting that traditional sunset and roses trope change the audience's psychological relationship with the male lead?
It radically deepens the empathy for Ali. In a traditional romance, the confession is this moment of triumph. But here, Ali discovers that a recent severe accident involving Miral wasn't random.
Right, it was a targeted hit orchestrated by his enemies.
Suddenly, he isn't confessing because he wants a romantic relationship. He is confessing because he is terrified.
He's panicking.
Completely. He is paralyzed by the fear that Miral will uncover the messy, dangerous truth about the conspiracy, misunderstand his involvement, and walk away from him.
So the confession is an act of desperation.
Exactly. It's a desperate move to bind her to him before the truth can push her away.
And Miral's reaction is brilliant. The plot summaries show she does not fall into his arms weeping with joy.
Not at all.
She is in utter shock. She viewed him strictly as a friend, a confidant. She physically and emotionally pushes back, stating she has career dreams she wants to achieve before even considering marriage.
It really grounds this massive melodrama in the very real sociology of modern Pakistani women navigating career ambitions against traditional expectations.
And notice Ali's countermove here. The classic toxic trope would be for him to get angry or demand she choose him over her career.
Right, to assert control.
But instead, he pivots to absolute devotion. He promises they will achieve her dreams together. He makes a vow to never deceive her and to stand as a literal shield between her and the world.
He isn't offering ownership. He is offering an armored partnership. It's an incredibly potent fantasy for the demographic watching.
It is. But just as the audience is swooning over this partnership, the show executes this massive narrative bait and switch.
The Trojan horse.
Exactly. It functions almost like a Trojan horse. The producers use the universally appealing romance of the first 10 episodes to smuggle in a highly complex, politically subversive revenge thriller right past the viewers and possibly the broadcast censors.
The tonal whiplash is totally intentional, because right after that, Ali discovers that the orchestrator behind the accident is the minister's son.
Working alongside a character named Oilia, played by Nawal Saeed.
Right, so Ali tracks down the minister's son and confronts him, drawing a hard line. He basically says, never utter Miral's name again or face destruction.
But the minister's son runs straight to Alia and reveals that Ali has a weakness now. And Alia's response is what truly establishes the stakes for the rest of the season.
She calculates. It's chilling.
She says, if he is your enemy, he is mine too. But she insists they must execute their revenge slowly and carefully to avoid suspicion. The slow knife is the one you don't see coming.
It's genre lending designed to maximize viewer retention. You have the domestic romance appealing to the emotional centers, and then the violent conspiratorial thriller driving the plot momentum.
Because if you only have romance, the show drags.
Exactly. And if you only have politics, you lose the core demographic. Blending them keeps the audience perpetually off balance.
And clearly it works. 10 million views. But, and this is massive, but while the fans were making TikTok edits of Ali's devotion, the critics were pulling their hair out.
Oh, the critics had a field day.
The deep dives from reviewers, specifically the popular Kaya Drama High channel, are actively tearing apart the show's underlying logic. Because if you step back for 1 second, the infrastructure of this narrative is holding together by a frayed thread.
Barely holding together.
Let's talk about the fashion show critique, because this drove me crazy.
Yeah, the reviewers pointed out a glaring lack of realism in character styling. Feroze Khan's character, Ali, is constantly styled in immaculate, over-the-top, three-piece bespoke suits.
Which makes sense in a corporate boardroom.
Sure, but he is wearing these suits in absurd, casual, and highly volatile situations.
He's walking into street-level, violent confrontations, dressed like he's opening a fashion week in Milan. You cannot be a gritty action hero if you look like you're actively worrying about getting blood on your silk pocket square.
Right, it totally shatters the illusion.
The reviewers joked that in some scenes he didn't even have dialogue because it was just an excuse for a fashion montage.
And that aesthetic priority bleeds into the physical staging of the scenes, too. Consider the heavily criticized kidnapping scene.
Oh, we have to dissect the logistics of the kidnapping. You'd think it's just a classic mafia move. They catch a man taking unauthorized photos of Ali, and they stuff him into the trunk of Ali's luxury car.
Right, a standard thriller trope.
But structurally, it's actually a massive failure of character logic.
The sequence collapses under any scrutiny. They are driving down a busy commercial road. In the middle of traffic, Ali commands his driver to stop the car.
In traffic.
Ali gets out, walks to the back, and just stands there.
Yeah.
He doesn't interrogate the man. He watches in silence as his driver opens the trunk and starts physically beating the photographer in broad daylight.
Why outsource the violence to your chauffeur? You are the intense, dangerous lead. Why stop in a commercial area instead of a secure location?
The critics were baffled. It felt like a forced attempt to give Ali an action hero aura without actually making the actor do the physical work, and it ended up looking comedic.
It really did. And the continuity errors are equally structural. Take the mystery of the vanishing motorcycle.
That was hilarious.
In episode 1, the creators established Miral as an independent, modern woman using a motorcycle as her visual shorthand. It was a strong character beat.
It established who she was immediately.
But now, in episode 11, she is the CEO. And yet, she is shown taking public buses and hailing taxis to get to high-level corporate meetings.
The expensive motorcycle has completely vanished from the show's universe. Did she sell it? Did it explode?
We have no idea. And we cannot ignore Ali's business strategy. When his factory is attacked by enemies, he surveys the damage and reacts by ordering his staff to double all the workers' salaries and permanently close the factory.
It is an economic impossibility. You can't double the payroll of a company with zero revenue that you just shuttered.
It's a hilariously naive view of corporate operations designed just to make Ali look generous.
And on top of that, there's a highly emotional flashback scene set 30 years in the past that prominently features 2020s era LED strip lighting and modern architecture.
Yes. So I need you to explain this to me. How do writers and directors this experienced allow these massive plot holes to make it to the screen?
Well, to understand the flaws, you have to understand the South Asian daily soap production pipeline. It is a grueling, relentless economic model. They are producing a 30 to 40 episode serial, and they do not have the luxury of Hollywood schedules.
Oh, definitely not.
They were shooting 10 to 15 pages of script a day, working 12 to 14-hour shifts.
Wait, 10 to 15 pages a day? That is an assembly line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crucially, they shoot entirely out of sequence based on location availability.
What do you mean?
They might rent a massive mansion for 3 days, and they have to shoot every single scene that takes place in that house for the entire season in those 72 hours.
Oh, wow. That makes continuity a nightmare.
Completely. The vanishing motorcycle, they probably only rented the bike for the first week of shooting to establish the character and just didn't have the budget to keep it on set for the later episodes.
That actually makes so much sense. And what about the modern LED lights in a 30-year-old flashback?
Art direction takes time and money. If you are rushing to hit your daily page count, you do not have the time to completely redress a rented location to look historically accurate.
You just have to roll with it.
You dim the lights, throw a filter on the camera, and hope the audience is too invested in the actor's tears to notice the modern light bulbs.
And what about the three-piece suits in the street fights?
Well, in many of these productions, actors supply a significant portion of their own wardrobe. Feroze Khan knows his brand is built on looking impeccably stylish, so he prioritizes his personal aesthetic over the situational logic of the scene.
That context changes everything. The errors aren't necessarily lazy writing. They are the inevitable byproducts of the industry's economic reality.
Precisely.
But that still leaves the question, why does the audience forgive it? Why do 10 million people click play if the logic is so broken?
Because we have to separate Western, logic-driven narrative expectations from the psychological contract of the Pakistani melodrama. In a prestige HBO drama, logic is the foundation. If the logic fails, the audience revolts. But in a show like Shaidai, the foundation is emotional truth.
So the literal truth is secondary to the emotional resonance.
Exactly. The director is catering to an audience that watches television to feel deeply. When Ali says he is afraid of losing Miral, the actor sells that fear so convincingly that the viewer adopts the emotion.
That high-stakes emotional resonance creates a massive suspension of disbelief.
The audience willingly ignores the tuxedo in the street fight because they believe in the devotion of the character wearing it. It is an entirely different metric for artistic success.
That is fascinating. But you know what else requires a massive suspension of disbelief? The friction between the aspirational fantasy we see on screen and the economic reality of the commercial breaks.
Oh, the sponsors.
Yes, because producing this high-gloss, multi-million-dollar production requires serious funding.
The commercial backbone is vital. The broadcast is heavily supported by two main sponsors, Happilac Paints and Ujoba Beauty Cream.
I went deep into our sources on Ujoba Beauty Cream because the sociological implications here are immense.
They really are.
Every 15 minutes, this show, which is about elite, multi-millionaire CEOs engaging in high-level corporate warfare, cuts to an advertisement for Ujoba's 4-in-1 beauty combo.
And you looked at their pricing strategy, right?
It did. The combo is currently on a massive Eid sale. It usually retails for 1,499 rupees, but is marked down to 850 rupees.
That is an aggressively accessible price point, equating to just a few US dollars. It is targeted squarely at the mass market, specifically working class and lower middle class demographics.
And the timing of the sale is intentional.
Very. The Eid sale strategy capitalizes on the immense cultural pressure to look radiant and presentable for extended family gatherings during the holidays.
But the product itself is what really caught my attention. The combo includes a cream, a soap, a face serum, and something called a glutathione capsule. Let's talk about the ingredients.
Let's do it.
The primary components are beeswax, mineral oil, and titanium dioxide. Can you break down the mechanics of these ingredients?
This is where the sociology of colorism in South Asia intersects with cosmetic chemistry. Titanium dioxide is primarily used in sunscreens because it creates a physical barrier that reflects UV rays.
Right, it blocks the sun.
However, in low-cost cosmetics, it is utilized as a cheap pigment. It doesn't alter the skin's melanin. It literally paints a temporary artificial white cast over the skin.
Which completely explains the highly specific, almost bizarre user directions on their website.
Really?
It says you have to physically mix the serum and the glutathione capsule into the cream yourself, like a DIY chemistry experiment.
Right.
Then it explicitly states in bold, apply a thin layer, do not rub hard, and leave overnight.
The instruction, do not rub hard, is the absolute giveaway. If you rub the cream into the skin, the titanium dioxide dissipates. It has to sit on top of the epidermis like a mask to maintain that artificial white layer.
That is wild.
Furthermore, the inclusion of glutathione is highly controversial. It is an antioxidant that, in certain doses, inhibits the enzyme tyrosinase, which the body needs to produce melanin. It is a staple in the largely unregulated skin lightening industry.
As for the real-world reviews, they are incredibly telling. You have a user named Asan Afzal who left a review stating, bought the combo, made no difference to my skin color, but my face feels fresh.
It is a very blunt, pragmatic response to a product marketing an unattainable beauty standard.
But connecting this back to Shaidai, the friction here is jarring. You have a show selling an untouchable fantasy of the spoke suits and luxury cars, funded by a sub-1,000 rupee skin cream that you mix yourself in your bathroom.
That disconnect is the fundamental operating principle of the television ecosystem. The drama provides the escapism. It allows the viewer to inhabit a world of extreme wealth and consequence for 40 minutes.
Right.
But the sponsors and the networks, they know exactly who is actually sitting on the couch. The show sells the aspirational dream, and the sponsors sell the attainable reality.
So it's a dual fantasy.
Exactly. The same viewer who desires the romantic devotion Ali offers Miral is being sold the promise of social mobility and beauty through Ujoba Cream. Both are catering to deep-seated emotional needs.
It is a brilliant, if slightly cynical, symbiotic relationship. But if the sponsors provide the economic anchor and the production pipeline provides the chaos, what provides the emotional anchor? Because the plot logic is fracturing.
The true emotional glue holding Shaidai together is its original soundtrack, the OST. In the South Asian television tradition, the OST is not just background ambiance, it is an active narrative tool.
The track for Shaidai is Tum, performed by Mashhad Sharyar, and the lyrics in our sources are incredibly heavy. There is a line that translates to, "You are a light for me in the dark of night."
Consider how the director deploys that track. When the script has a gap in logic, or when a scene lacks the dialogue to properly convey the stakes, the director drops the OST into the audio mix at full volume.
Just blasted.
Yes, the music bypasses the analytical, logical part of the viewer's brain and strikes directly at the amygdala, the emotional core.
It's literally a psychological cheat code.
Exactly. It operates almost like classical operatic scoring. The music tells the audience how to feel, papering over the missing motorcycles and the illogical factory closures.
It insists that the tragedy and the love are real.
Yes, maintaining the emotional continuity even when narrative continuity completely collapses.
So we have an industry fueled by mass-market beauty creams, shooting at breakneck speed, prioritizing emotion over logic, and glued together by a powerhouse soundtrack. And this specific formula isn't just dominating Pakistan.
No, it's going global.
This brings us to a massive revelation in the data. Shaidai is crossing highly militarized borders.
The global footprint of this show is a real testament to its raw psychological power. According to syndication reports from Zoom TV, Shaidai didn't just slowly leak into international markets. It premiered simultaneously in India in April 2026.
A simultaneous broadcast in India and Pakistan is a massive geopolitical anomaly, given the historical and ongoing tensions between the two nations. The broadcast regulations and cultural barriers are usually incredibly stringent.
It is a remarkable cultural bypass. What we are seeing is local, hyper-regional storytelling rivaling massive, homogenized global content platforms like Netflix.
And Shaidai is undeniably Pakistani.
Very much so. It is rooted in local family structures, Urdu dialogue, and specific cultural mores. Yet, it proves that deeply regional television can transcend borders because the underlying emotional grammar is universal.
It's the shared language of melodrama. Politicians can argue over borders all day, but an audience in Mumbai and an audience in Karachi are both going to gasp when Alia plots her revenge.
Exactly. The trump of the angry young man fighting the world for his love is a cinematic language that has dominated both Bollywood and Lollywood for decades.
The fans watching in India don't care about the geopolitical passport of the actors. They care about the undeniable chemistry between Feroze Khan and Sahar Hashmi.
The shared desire for high-stakes emotional storytelling just overrides the political hostility.
Which brings us to the future. Knowing the virality, the cross-border appeal, the massive plot holes, and the underlying sociology, we have to look at the current cliffhanger. We need to talk theories for episode 12.
The board is set for absolute chaos.
The dynamic has completely shifted. Ali and Miral are standing on incredibly fragile ground. Ali has just confessed this massive panic-driven love, and Miral is trying to process how this intense devotion fits into her fiercely guarded independence.
They are very vulnerable right now.
And looming in the shadows, you have the minister's son and Alia. Alia specifically stated her revenge plot must be slow and careful. That terrifies me.
As it should.
Because if she attacks him physically, Ali can handle it. He's an action hero. But she isn't planning a physical war, is she?
No, the prevailing theory among the fandom, and it aligns perfectly with the psychological profile of the writers, is that Alia isn't initiating a psychological war. She won't attack Miral. She will attack the trust between Miral and Ali.
She is going to weaponize the secret of the accident.
Precisely. Ali's greatest fear, the exact fear that drove his confession, is that Miral will misunderstand his connection to the accident. Alia holds that truth.
Oh, that is so manipulative.
If she drips that poison into Miral's ear, suggesting that Ali was complicit or that his love is actually just guilt and manipulation, she destroys the relationship from the inside out.
It is classical tragedy.
Yeah.
Just as the foundation of their partnership is being poured, Alia is going to rip it out from under them.
The tension online is palpable. Fans are constantly debating whether the writers will grant a happy ending or stretch this paranoia into a brutal, tragic finale.
Given Seventh Sky Entertainment's history, we should probably expect them to stretch this tension until it snaps.
The next few episodes will likely be an agonizing series of near misses, manipulated conversations, and escalating paranoia. They will mine every single ounce of anxiety from the audience.
I am stressed just thinking about it, but this is exactly why we do these deep dives. We take a trending hashtag, a simple television show, and we pull back the layers to expose the vast machinery operating beneath it.
Because it is never just a television show. It is an intersection of economics, culture, and psychology.
Let's recap the terrain we just covered today. We started with a broadcast anomaly, a show trailing in traditional living room ratings, but completely dominating the digital participatory culture.
We unpacked a panic-driven love confession that served as a Trojan horse, smuggling a political revenge thriller right onto the screen.
We examined how the grueling realities of the South Asian daily soap production pipeline create hilarious continuity errors, from time-traveling light bulbs to disappearing motorcycles.
We also analyzed the friction between the aspirational wealth portrayed on screen and the socio-economic realities of the mass-market sponsors, digging into the history and chemistry of colorism in the beauty industry.
And finally, we saw how the universal language of a beautifully scored melodrama can bypass geopolitical hostilities, uniting millions across borders. It is a stunning achievement in modern media.
It really is.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with as we wait for episode 12. Think about the highly digitized, increasingly isolated world we currently inhabit. We are constantly told that attention spans are shrinking, that audiences demand hyper-logical, premium prestige content.
Yeah, that's the industry narrative.
And yet, right here, we have a television show that defies all rational analysis. A show with scientifically impossible corporate strategies and heroes wearing silk tuxedos to fistfights.
It makes no logical sense.
Yet this deeply flawed, logically broken piece of fiction has the sheer power to unite tens of millions of people across hostile international borders to passionately, desperately debate the fate of made-up characters.
It's beautiful in a way.
What does that say about us? What does it reveal about our deep intrinsic human need for shared emotional melodrama? Perhaps in an increasingly disconnected reality, we aren't watching these shows to escape the truth. Perhaps we're watching them because the raw, unfiltered emotion is the only place we still feel genuinely connected to one another.
That is a really profound way to look at it.
Something to think about, for sure. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Shaidai. And remember, if you want to be the very first to get the breakdown when episode 12 drops and Ailey unleashes her revenge, hit that subscribe button right now. We will be right here, ready to unpack the chaos with you.